My mother's tongues. A weaving of languages. Here we can see the purple tapestry and the canvas. The texture. My mother has two tongues. With one tongue, she speaks Malayalam. With the other, she speaks English. When we are out shopping, she speaks to my grandmother in Malayalam. She asks, Namuku imnim pal avash mandu, which means, do we need more milk? To me, she speaks a combination of both, saying, Sumi, help me he, Zadk ana danka, Aru thu vikan. The languages hop like rabbits from her tongue. Then she turns out to the cashier and says, Hello, how are you doing? I help my mother put the groceries onto the counter. I wonder what the cashier must be thinking. Does she understand what we are saying? Though my mother speaks with two tongues, I can see only one in her mouth. That's because the two tongues, Malayalam and English, are now woven together like fine cloth. The seams are invisible. My mother didn't always have two tongues. For some years, she only spoke Malayalam. It is the language most people speak in Kerala, where she grew up. I appreciate the textures of the canvas that's shown. And here we have the children studying their ABCs. My mother began learning to read, write, and speak English when she was 12 years old. The new tongue grew quickly. She studied hard and practiced often so that one day she could speak English just as well as she can speak Malayalam. 10 years ago, when my mother moved to America, she couldn't always understand what people were saying. They spoke too quickly or used words and phrases she had never heard before, and it felt like her two tongues were twisted into pretzels. Let's turn the page. I wasn't born in Kerala, but when I was a baby, my first words were in Malayalam. It is my first tongue, and the one I still speak at home with my mother, father, and grandmother. The illustration shows them going to school. Elementary school to be exact, with the playground. I started learning English, my second tongue, by listening to people around my neighborhood and town, and then at school. Now I have two tongues, like my mother. Every summer, my family travels to Kerala to visit our relatives. At the airport, I see travelers from all over the world. I hear many different languages, like Spanish, Arabic, and Vietnamese. A lot of people just doing some people watching and everything else. When I am in Kerala, I speak Malayalam with my relatives. I get better with each visit. I don't always understand every word they say. Luckily, my parents are there to help me. My family reminds me that each language is like a muscle. It needs exercise and practice to grow strong. If I stop using a language, I might forget it, and that tongue might grow weak. The more languages I learn and practice, the happier my tongue will be, and the stronger my brain will become. My mother speaks English with an accent. A person's accent holds hints about what their first language might be or where they might be from. Each person has their own accent, But no matter how they speak, everyone's person's voice is unique and important. My aunt Lila has 4 tongues. She can speak and read Malayalam, English, Hindi, and Spanish. Because she speaks 4 languages, she can speak with 4 times as many people. I want to learn dozens of languages so that one day I can speak with people who live in every part of the world. Having a tapestry of tongues will be my superpower. Dedicated to my mother, who inspired my love of language. Yuam. To my mom, who taught my daughter Daria our mother tongue, the Persian language, RJB. The end. Fin. Uma Menon was raised in Winter Park, Florida. Growing up, she could not find stories that reflected her experience.